So we got the 1101 spoilers, and we've got a pretty good chapter here, I guess. There's just not that much revealed. I mean, there's enough to talk about and get excited about something, but we're really going to have to wait for the full summary and then, of course, the full chapter release. But in the previous chapter, we saw more of Kuma's flashback, just as we're going to see in this chapter. We saw that Kizaru showed up to Egghead to assist Vegapunk with his Kuma duties on behalf of Saturn, and Saturn gave all of these instructions to Kuma in order to allow Vegapunk to cure Bonnie of her Sapphire Scale. And it ultimately led to Kuma becoming a warlord and, inevitably a mindless android or cyborg, or eventually an android. Kuma agrees, of course, and they get to curing Bonnie and turning Kuma into an android or cyborg, whatever. We also saw during this montage that Kizaru, Sentomaru, Vegapunk, Kuma, and Bonnie all grew closer together, and they were like having pizza parties and literally dancing like freaking Nika, and we'll get more into that later. But afterwards, Bonnie was sent back to Sorbet Kingdom to stay there for a probationary period so that, Kuma wouldn't just desert his position after Bonnie was cured. And there was a CP8 agent there by the name of Alpha who was overseeing Bonnie, but also being her prison guard in a way. So just remember her because she's going to be in this chapter. But at the end, we saw the reactions from all of the other warlords to Kuma, becoming a warlord. And it's also noted that this is around, 4 years or something from the current time in the story. So it's about 2 years or so, I guess, before the first chapter, or the second chapter, or the end of the first chapter. And that being said, we see Kuma eventually arriving at Fuchsia Village, place where Luffy grew up. I don't know if he was born there. I mean, we still have a long way to go before we find out about Luffy's birth. But we were wondering, what's he doing there? Because he also gets a call from the world government or the Navy or whatever, and they're like, you have new orders from the government, Kuma. Where are you now? And he's like, I'm in the East Blue. What's your command? And we also see Luffy there running from a tiger. So now we're finally finding out why Kuma went there. Because after realizing Dragon's frequent disappearances when the Revolutionary Army was in Goa Kingdom, Kuma concluded that Luffy is Dragon's son when he saw him in Fuchsia Village practicing his devil fruit. So yeah, the spoilers aren't really fully descriptive here. Like I said, we're gonna have to wait for the full summary, so subscribe for that if you haven't already, because I'll try to release it as fast as I can. Sometimes it's difficult because these things get released at 3 a.m. But apparently, from what I'm gathering from this, is that Dragon left his post in the Revolutionary Army and I guess was going to Fuchsia Village to check on Luffy, secretly. Right? I mean, that's the implication here.
And actually, speaking of that, I wish I could get some better sleep. Actually, I have been getting better sleep because of Manta Sleep. They make the world's best sleep masks and functional sleep accessories. But there's actually more to Manta than that, because everything they do is fueled by their drive to enable better lives through better sleep and regular naps. And that's very true, because getting good sleep is one of the most important things you can do in your life. I actually have 2 of them. I have their Pro Sleep Mask, which just feels like a pillow on your face. It's so comfortable and it's completely blackout. But I also have the Cool Pads for it. You can put these in the freezer and it feels just as good as you think it would. I also have the Sound Mask, which literally has Bluetooth headphones built into it. When I feel like just chilling or vibing out or something, I'll listen to a podcast or an album and I'll just lay down and put this thing on. It's awesome. Or if you're trying to go to sleep and you listen to ASMR, this is perfect for that. So guys, if you want to get a Manta sleep mask for yourself or a gift for someone else for the holidays, check my link in the description, and also make sure you use code Zhoniin for 10% off of your order. Thanks, guys.
And I guess that makes Dragon a little bit better. I mean, I doubt the majority of the fan base, the entire fan base or manga readers, current manga readers, despise Dragon the way that the hardcore does, or at least a fraction of the hardcore community does. I'm not exactly his biggest fan, but this is, better than nothing, I guess. I mean, once Dragon eventually like fights or does something, everybody's just going to forget about all of the Dragon doing nothing and letting Ginny get captured, and just sitting back and allow her to, be a slave. Everyone's for sure going to forget that once we see his devil fruit and him like destroy something or someone jobs to him. You know what I mean? So I guess this is the beginning of that. But still, Dragon isn't really doing much. And in the previous chapter, he was just in a single panel and just looking with an ellipses. But I thought that Kuma was going to, I don't know, do something to assist Luffy. But no, I guess he just looks at him from a distance and is like, yeah, that's Dragon's son. All right, I'll make sure I remember that because, it ties everything together. This is why he decided to help Luffy and the Straw Hats at Thriller Bark. And Sabaody, of course, the most famous example of his helping. But I think this further gives credence to the fact that Luffy is the son of the former Amazon Lily Empress. Because now that he for sure knows that Luffy was Dragon's son beforehand, why would he send him to Amazon Lily if not to be with his mother's people? Also, I'm working on this big live stream with a few other creators in the same sphere of YouTube-ness. Like, if you watch my channel, you probably watch these other guys as well. I'll make a follow-up video to that once everybody confirms. Connie heard that Alpha was an agent of the world government and devised a plan for Bonnie's escape. So this goes back to what I was saying about how Alpha is like the CP8 nurse prison guard to keep Bonnie, at where she is, or to just monitor her for Saturn more than anyone, right? It's so interesting how Saturn is so involved in this storyline. So now that Connie, the acting queen of Sorbet Kingdom, has heard about this, she's trying to get Bonnie to escape, because Bonnie has to eventually escape because she becomes Jewelry Bonnie, the worst generation, which is like, how did she become a supernova? Like, who thought that she was like gonna be one of the top candidates to become the Pirate King? Bonnie used the distorted future technique by imagining herself to be Nika and defeats Alpha, ending. So that's interesting, but I don't know what she looks like when she does this, because her distorted future ability, which is like one of the nuanced effects of her devil fruit, instead of like becoming younger or older, she could somehow become an older version of herself that could have been, or something. Distorted future, almost like tapping into the multiverse, although that's not a thing in One Piece, at least not yet, but it's kind of like that. But it's saying that she's imagining herself to be Nika. This means that she's going to look like Nika, and it's like, how does she know what Nika looks like? And how does anybody? How does Kuma? Because she had to have heard this from Kuma. So what I'm thinking here is that it's possible that this distorted future that she does here is the same that she did a couple chapters back when she was attacking Vegapunk. And when she did it, she looked like a buccaneer. And if this is the same thing that she does in this chapter, and she's imagining herself to be Nika, and she becomes a buccaneer, I think that goes into my theory that Nika, or Joy Boy, was a buccaneer. And I think that would be really cool, because I also think that Blackbeard is a buccaneer as well. And that would just bring everything full circle, because once Luffy and Blackbeard, really get into it, we're going to be like, yeah, Luffy, you think that you're the next Joy Boy, but you're not even a buccaneer. I share the same blood as Joy Boy because I'm a buccaneer. We're both D's, but I actually come from his blood. You're just like a guy who kind of inherited his will. And, that also explains the giant Straw Hat and all of his ties to the giants, or the implied ties. I mean, yeah, it's very likely that Joy Boy was just a straight up giant. That's very much on the table for sure still. But I think there's also a very real possibility that he is a buccaneer, which seems to be some kind of like human giant hybrid. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. And if you liked it, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.